talks have begun in Cairo for what should lead into a second phase of a ceasefire in Gaza. Israeli, Qatari and US delegations are holding what mediator Egypt calls intensive discussions. The first phase of the truce, which will expire tomorrow, has seen Hamas release 25 living Israeli hostages and return the bodies of 8 others, while Israel has freed nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. Phase 2 of the ceasefire is expected to include the return of all remaining living Israeli hostages, as well as the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Israel, however, has stated it is not going to withdraw its troops from the so-called Philadelphia corridor. This runs along the southern border of Gaza. It was supposed to have started pulling out on the last day of the first phase of the ceasefire, this is early March, and complete that pullout within 8 days. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has acknowledged what it described as a complete failure to prevent the Hamas attack in October 2023, which sparked this latest crisis in Gaza. In an internal probe, the IDF recognized it was, quote, overconfident and had misconceptions about the militant group's capabilities. And more, Giles Gibson joins us live from Tel Aviv. Giles, of course, those talks in Cairo going on as we speak, and we're heading into the end of the first phase of the ceasefire in Gaza. Suggestions that the Israeli delegation in Cairo wants to extend the first phase of this ceasefire, and Hamas not quite agreeing to that.
That's right. The Reuters news agency reporting that Israeli officials at these talks are pushing for a 42-day extension to phase 1. That would certainly be politically very advantageous to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, because it would allow him to say to the wider Israeli public, look, I am still moving forward with getting hostages back from captivity in Hamas, but in Gaza rather. But at the same time, he could also avoid this confrontation with the far-right members of his cabinet who are saying that they do not want to see Israel whatsoever go into phase 2 of this deal. Hamas are publicly signaling that they do not want to see an extension to phase 1. They are saying they want to stick to the original time frame in terms of moving on to phase 2. I mean, looking at the text of the leaked agreement that started back in mid-January, we are really moving into uncharted territory here, because reading that text of that leaked document, I really cannot see any sort of a provision in terms of what happens if the two sides get to the end of phase 1 and there's no agreement on phase 2. There is a line in that document that simply says that they should have it all agreed by the 5th week of the ceasefire. So make no mistake, we are moving into uncharted territory here, although there is still the chance, of course, that the two sides can do some sort of a deal, either a breakthrough in terms of moving on to phase 2, or what's looking a little bit more likely, some sort of an extension to phase 1.
Well, thanks. Giles Gibson reporting live from Tel Aviv on uncharted territory, moving into as the phase 1 of the Gaza ceasefire expires tomorrow.